Attracting keen interest among many old salts is a magnificent oil painting of the ship Great Admiral on exhibition at the Penobscot Marine Museum at Searsport. The Bangor Daily News, August 4th, 1938. Today's Peek into Paintings is a story within a story, a painting within a photograph. I am Gina with the Penobscot Marine Museum in Searsport, Maine. In this photo, we see the Penobscot Marine Museum in 1938. Incorporated in 1936, this photo captures the exhibits in the museum's second summer. The new museum intended to preserve the shipping records and marine objects of the eastern section of the coast of Maine, centering around Penobscot Bay. This section was of great maritime importance in the heyday of New England shipping, and its marine history covers an integral part of the whole maritime activity of the nation in the century following the American Revolution. From our humble beginnings here in Searsport's Old Town Hall, the Penobscot Marine Museum has expanded dramatically, both in physical size and in the diversity of the stories we tell. But we still share the stories of Penobscot Bay ships and captains, and we even still have many of the items we see exhibited here. We're going to take a closer look at the painting in the upper right corner.
Here it is. This vessel has 3 masts and square sails, so we know it's a ship. If we look closely over here, we see that it's the Great Admiral. There are many details in this painting, so let's look around. We'll start at the stern or back of the ship. We see a crew member at the wheel. If you've watched Peek into Paintings before, you know we often see crew members on the deck. Did you notice anything different about the crew members on the Great Admiral? Sometimes the people in these paintings are mere shadows. In this painting, we can clearly see their clothing and hairstyle. This man's hair is tied back. His clothes are loose and the same color. These visual clues suggest he may be Asian. Compare that to these people on top of the cabin. The man in the front is clearly wearing a Western-style jacket, pants, and hat. Behind him are 2 more figures. Do you think the figure with the red sash might be the captain's wife? Continuing our look along the deck, we see the ship's boats and the masts and a lot of rigging. Here are 2 more crew members, and they are painted similar to the man at the wheel. They also appear to be engaged in a task, possibly with rope. Here's an interesting figure. I'm not sure if it's a person or perhaps it's a dog. What do you think? At the bow or front of the ship, we have 3 more crew members. Again, their hats, vests, and the rest of their clothing suggest they are American or European. It was common for sailing vessels to have crew members from many different countries and even different continents. At the bow, we also see a large anchor. See how big it is compared to the men? Next to the man at the front is the capstan, which would have been used to haul the anchor. At the very front of the ship is the bowsprit, and under it we see an elaborate sculpture called a figurehead. Now let's go aloft. We see the sails billowing with the wind. At the top of the main mast, or the mast in the middle, is a white flag with a simple horse on it. Hoisted up the last mast, or the mizzen mast, are a series of signal flags. These are Marriott Code flags. Starting at the top, the red and white pennant is the 4th distinguishing pennant, followed by the numbers 4, 6, 2, and 8. The Marriott Code was one of several signaling systems in use in the 1800s. Like a license plate, these flags indicated the name of the ship. What is now the International Code of Signals was first published in 1857 and gradually replaced other systems. Finally, we see the American flag. What else do we see in this painting? The water and the sky both convey drama. There are clouds in the distance, but the break in the clouds directly over the ship makes the center of the painting lighter. Look at the waves and the many shades of blue, almost a turquoise. You could miss these birds by mistaking them for a white-capped wave, but there are at least 2 birds over here. In the distance, we see a couple other vessels. This one has 2 masts with one fore and aft rigged and one with a square sail, making it a topsail schooner. And this one is interesting. It appears to be a steamer with 4 masts. There's smoke coming out of the stack, and the sails on the front 2 masts are unfurled to take advantage of the wind as well. Finally, we come to the only identifiable landmark in this painting. It is a lighthouse on top of a rocky island. In the far distance, there is more land. This is likely the Fastnet Lighthouse located on Fastnet Rock, about 8 miles from the mainland of Ireland. The lighthouse seen here was the original light that began operating in 1854. It was built of cast iron with an oil-burning lamp. A fog signal was added in 1883, but gales shook the tower and the light was not powerful enough, so it was replaced by a new light in 1904.
Artist Charles Waldron painted this oil on canvas around 1880. Born in Ireland, Waldron moved to the Liverpool area, where he made a living as a master painter and selling paint and oil. Many of his paintings are of American vessels, and his ship portraits tend to be larger than average, like this one is very large. As we discovered earlier, this is a painting of the ship Great Admiral. Here is a photo from the Coffin Collection in the Penobscot Marine Museum photo archives of the Great Admiral at Constitution Wharf in Boston, Massachusetts. Robert E. Jackson built the ship in East Boston and launched her in April 1869. I could list off all of her specifications, but I'll stick to just a few facts I found particularly interesting. The Great Admiral had 3 anchors that weighed a total of 12,301 pounds. But when you think of how much an anchor weighs, you have to remember you're also handling the anchor chain. The Great Admiral's chains weighed 33,950 pounds. Her rigging was all initially made of hemp, but was replaced with wire in 1883. We saw several members of her crew in the painting. In total, the Great Admiral needed three mates, a bosun, a carpenter, a steward, a cook, and 28 able-bodied seamen and boys. The ship was named after Admiral Farragut, who was also known as the Great Admiral, and was a popular figure in the United States in the late 1860s when the ship was built. Farragut served in the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, and in the United States Navy during the American Civil War. He led several victories for the Union and was the only Civil War officer to receive the official thanks of Congress twice. The figurehead that we noticed in the painting but couldn't quite make out was actually a life-size carving of Admiral Farragut. Here's another photo from the Penobscot Marine Museum Archives Coffin Collection, which shows the bow and figurehead of the Great Admiral. So what does this Boston ship have to do with Mid-Coast Maine, and how did the painting end up at the Penobscot Marine Museum? Captain Benjamin Thompson commanded the ship Great Admiral for 12 years. Captain Thompson was from Winterport, Maine. He died in 1904. When the newly formed Penobscot Marine Museum was putting together our 1938 exhibit, Thompson's daughter, Louise Williams, loaned the painting. Later that summer, she agreed to sell the painting of the ship Great Admiral to the Penobscot Marine Museum. Here is the note that documents the sale of the painting. In the second paragraph, Louise says, "This oil painting has always hung in the Thompson home in Winterport and now hangs in the rooms of the Penobscot Marine Museum, Inc." She signs her name, Louise T. Williams. In the bottom left corner are the signatures of the witnesses. First is Elizabeth W. Robb, then Lincoln Colkard, who was the secretary of the Penobscot Marine Museum Board of Trustees. The last signature is Robert P. Nichols, who was the vice president of the board. The daughter of a Winterport captain who commanded the Boston ship Great Admiral sold this painting to the Penobscot Marine Museum over 80 years ago so that visitors today, and you and me, can enjoy it. Thanks for watching this peek into paintings. I will end with one more quote from the Bangor Daily News on August 4th, 1938, and one more look at the oil painting of the ship Great Admiral. One gazing at the spreading canvas and the noble lines of the Great Admiral, as set forth in the fine large oil painting hanging in the Penobscot Marine Museum, is at once impressed by the major part played by Maine coast master mariners in the heyday of American sail.